Welcome, everyone, to Coffee and an Interview. I'm your host, Jacqueline Pena, and I'm really excited about today's conversation. We're here with Dr. Robb Kelly, and we're going to dive into some difficult topics, but I promise it's beneficial, it's worthwhile. We're going to have some good tools for our toolkit. So, Dr. Kelly, Robb, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Dr. Robb over in San Antonio, Texas. But as you can tell by the accent, I'm not from Texas. I'm from a little old place called England, and Manchester in there is where I grew up. And I've been here in Texas for 20 years, 14 Dallas and 6 in San Antonio, where my headquarters are. We do what we love because we love what we do. So suffering alcoholic myself, homeless, died twice on the streets. I remember stabbing my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish a bottle of vodka. Babies were taken off me. Just horrific stuff that, I don't know, most alcoholics go through. And from the depths of insanity and death on the streets, I stand before you today, 30 years later, the leading authority, according to Harvard, in the neuroscience, addiction, stroke, depression, stroke, anxiety field. And yeah, I'm just loving every moment, man. Just giving back and smiling every day.
Wow. I,
That's the
I know
introduction.
the audience can't see my facial expressions, but I was in awe and shocked because you went through so much through your process and you're using that now to help others through their process. So thank you for sharing that journey that you went through as part of your introduction. So
You're welcome.
tell me a little bit about, so you started with addiction and your story. I think many of us can resonate with parts of your story in different ways because we all know someone who's addicted.
Mm.
We might have struggled with addiction ourselves. And I think we need to talk a little bit broader about addiction. I want to open it up to that conversation.
Yeah, well, I was born into an alcoholic family, but I didn't know that then. I think neither did my family, by the way, back in the day. I took my auntie and uncle were musicians. So at the age of 9, I'm playing on stage professionally with them in the bars and the clubs and stuff like that, the pubs back home. I took my first drink in Liverpool, age 9. I took my first drink of alcohol because I was very nervous. And my uncle said, "Here, just take this, drink this beer, you'll be fine." I did. And I was amazing after I drank the first little bit of beer. Of course, now I found my solution for everything because I was a shy kid. Unless you put a guitar over my shoulder, then, it was amazing. So, yeah, I mean, just went through normal school and um, just doing the best I can, lucky enough to get to college and stuff like that. But I was in a lower working class family. So in America, it's called the projects or Section 8 housing. It's the council estates back in England. Very rough, very poor. Mum and dad worked for the gas board, digging up the roads to lay them big pipes down. And my mum cleaned other people's houses. And there was a lot of love there, a lot of laughter, some sadness. But you don't know you're poor when you're young. That's the great thing about it. I didn't know we couldn't afford vacations, and that was okay, But yeah, um, and then it kind of all went to hell very quickly for me, because when you talk about alcoholism, you can kind of frame it with addiction, anxiety, PTSD, depression. It's all the same, whereas an underactive part of the brain is taken over to cause the ailment. So that's what we found when our early research. So when I finally came off the street, I was angry, first of all, because nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. They'd call me an alcoholic, but they didn't have a solution. And the medical fraternities still don't have a solution today, but that's by the by. So I set off doing my own research into alcoholism and found some crazy, crazy facts. Um, and now we were studying neuroscience 20 years ago when it wasn't even heard of, because an incident on the streets made me believe that the brain wasn't hardwired.
Mm. Now, you said an incident on the streets made you believe the brain wasn't hardwired, and all this research shed some light. What did you learn, and what happened in the streets?
So I was in a liquor store early hours in the morning, not supposed to be there. I'm going into delirium tremors. which basically means, guys, if I don't get alcohol in my body real soon or get to the hospital real soon, there's a good chance of me dying. So I'm the chronic of the chronics. I was shaking so badly outside. I was sweating. I had a little vest and a pair of shorts and flip-flops. It's snowing profusely and I'm sweating. My head's banging. The guy opens the door way earlier than he should, but he knows me, this Pakistani guy, beautiful guy. And for whatever happened on this occasion, I had my 10 pound and I put it on the counter and he put the bottle of vodka on the counter, the handle type bottle of vodka. And this is what happened. Soon as I held the bottle, not opened it, I held the bottle, everything changed. Like sweat stopped, headache went, happy mood, everything changed in seconds. And it was like a movie because I remember looking at the bottle, looking at the shopkeeper, and then looking back at the bottle and going, holy crap, it's not the alcohol. And that was the aha moment for me. Now, I stayed on the streets for another 6 months after that. But when I got off, I realized that it's this and not this. And that's what we were known for, finding out that substance has got 1% to do with it. And then we found out that alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made, and people didn't like that, of course. So, uh, we just went on. We've worked with everybody, institutions, universities. I've wrote for Harvard, all the great stuff. But we believe we are the leading authorities today in alcoholism, addiction, and depression, just because we've not only researched crazily over the last 20 years, but we've stuck about $1.8 million into research, and everything we talk about, even today, has been tried, tested, and researched by us as a fact.
You use the word we, the pronoun we. When you say we, who do you mean?
So I have a bunch of people around me, smart people. In the early days, it was just me. Um, but as we started to practice in Dallas, we got bigger and bigger. And there's about 7 people around me right now, 12 staff, but 7 people around me who continue to research with me because we want to find out more. When I said I could cure addiction, people lost their minds. It's like, you can't, you can't. And I'm like, well, let me stop you right there. First of all, let me tell you 2 facts in the world. The food industry gets us sick and the pharmaceutical companies keep us sick. And they didn't like that. And the other thing I said is there's 2 things that get us sick: toxicity and deficiency. What am I being poisoned by? And what am I deficient in my body? And them 2 plus oxygen, because every illness starts in a hypoxic area of the body, is causing all our diseases. Medication does not cure a disease. It manages a disease. So nobody wants to get well in this country or England. I'm an American, by the way, and I say this because when they hear me, nobody wants to get in this country. No, I'm American. I became American 10 years ago, and I treat that very, very seriously. This is my country. So when I say America, I'm not being biased. If England went to war with America, bye-bye England, I'm American. I say this for our communities. I say this for our children. I say this research that we're banging against that hard wall with these companies because they're bigger than we'll ever be. But I've worked with 11,000 patients, and so has my colleagues, and we're trying to change the world.
That's, you're looking at this from a broader lens than most of us would normally look at, right? So we started talking about your journey and addiction and the realization and the connection to neuroscience. And we haven't jumped into the neuroscience yet, but you started making that connection in your story. I think it's important for us to understand more about what addiction is. And we are all different. We're all going to come up with our operational definition based on the research and what we learn. But tell us, from the work you're doing, how are you defining addiction then? And what was the connection? What were the aha insights you were seeing through neuroscience? You saw it with your example of holding that bottle of vodka, right? What did you learn? What have you learned through this journey?
3 parts of the brain in alcoholics that differ to any other addiction: the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. From birth, we've traced the gene back to fetus level. Doesn't happen in any other addiction apart from alcoholism. So alcoholics are allergic to the ethanol in alcohol. So when we drink, there's stages we go through, but once we cross over an alcoholism stage, we cannot stop. And there's the difference. Now we're really quick, Jacqueline, to point fingers and name tag people. Oh, he round the corner, Johnny, a bottle a day. He's an alcoholic. But what we found was alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness. If you can trace it back through your family, and when you take the first drink, can you stop? No, you probably abuse alcohol. Just stop. You're too old. Get over it. You got kids, for God's sake. But then there's the alcoholic that can't stop. And the reason it can't stop, and this is again was what we were known for and known for, is there's a part of the brain called a hypothalamus. The hypothalamus has a few jobs, but one of it is the survival part of the brain. So it tells us from birth that I, as a human being, need to drink water and eat food to survive. That's it. Everything else is amazing. It does temperature, but that's what it tells us. So we don't even have to think about it. You see young babies and they crying or holding the stomach or got the fist in the mouth. They're hungry. The body is telling, the brain is telling me, even at that age, that you're hungry. During the process of the alcoholic, not the heavy drinker, the alcoholic, the hypothalamus hijacks the brain and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. This is why we can go days or weeks without food or water, not like other people, because the brain is telling us, survival part of the brain, if you don't drink alcohol, you're going to die. So that's why the real alcoholic is always, where's my next bottle? Where's my next bottle? Crying kids, desperate wives, ex-employees that don't want to, where's my bottle? Where's my bottle? Where's my bottle? And for somebody who doesn't understand alcoholism and why we do this, we don't have a choice. So with alcoholism, the choice is taken away from us. And alcoholism sounds a bit like this: drink, 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 drink in your brain all the time. And the only way you can shut it up back in the day was to take another drink and it'd go. Now we look at drug addicts. 93%, 94% of people that come to me with a crack cocaine or heroin addiction started in the doctor's office. So they have what's called the addictive personality. It's not a disease. I'm sorry, guys. I hate to say this, but it's just the same. It shows up the same. It's just as bad. But we come down to the neuroscience. You can take enough drugs to become a drug addict, but you can't drink enough alcohol to become an alcoholic. You either are or you are not an alcoholic. And that defining line is the neuroscience behind curing one of them and being recovered, just like food poisoning, from the alcoholism. There's no cure for alcoholism to date, and I don't think there ever will be. So them parts we found out, and a bunch of other stuff, it kind of made sense. And the more we researched, the subconscious and conscious mind, and the more we researched the hippocampus, the amygdala, the ventral prefrontal cortex, all that different parts of the brain has an effect on the alcoholic and the way the brain runs.
Wow. I'm thinking now beyond alcoholism and drug addiction, right? I've known people with process addictions, right? The a nonstop video gaming. It becomes an addiction when it interrupts the flow of life.
Yes.
I myself struggle with binging as a young teenager, and we didn't know what that was back then. But there are people who have food addictions. There are people, and I've noticed also sometimes you might have someone who has a process addiction, who used to have a drug addiction, later on might have a different kind of addiction, and it's the same person, just a different tool that's being used. Not a
Yeah,
positive,
just
but yeah.
yeah. So when we drop one, we have to pick up the other with addiction, because our brain is, especially if we take hard drugs, the dopamine, your pathways, everything that's firing, the synapse in the brain, everything's firing, firing, firing. So when we do come off one, we have to pick up another. Again, going back to the addictive personality, we become very addicted on something that either we can do well or can't. And this is where the basal ganglia comes in. The basal ganglia part of the brain is our repetition, strengthens and confirms of any action. So a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air.
Mhm.
That's the basal ganglia learning that, going round and round, just like a clock face, until it eventually becomes a working part of the mind where we don't even have to think about it. With alcoholics, the basal ganglia is broken and it keeps snapping back to relapse. But yeah, I
Mm.
mean, it's well, 9 out of 10 times you will replace. Like if people say, yeah, I go to the gym every day, but I'm not an addiction. I go, oh, brilliant. Yeah, I've got to get to the gym every day. I go on vacation next week with the wife and the kids. It's going to be amazing. But you touch down in Spain somewhere, and what's the husband doing? Looking for the nearest gym. That's affecting your life and affecting the family's life. So everything is all about evening things out, you know, making sure that you live in the moment, making sure that you never done too much of one thing and not enough of the other. Getting that complete balance, because all we have is today. This is why people mess their life up. Depression yesterday, anxiety tomorrow. But anxiety and depression and PTSD and all that stuff cannot live right now. They can't live in the day. Sorry, let me take PTSD. I'm sorry, anxiety, depression can't live in the day. If you're living in the day, there's no such thing as that. But we forecast and we think about that and all that stuff, and it goes round and round and round and round. Is you can get cured from that. You really can. But a lot of it is, it's now. I mean, how many times? I mean, you must have had loads of Jan Jacqueline's with friends. Is like, 1 minute I'm waving Johnny off to kindergarten, the next minute I'm waving him off to college. It's like, where did that time go? Because we
Mhm.
started this podcast some 20 odd minutes ago, and we're never going to get that time back again. But we become complacent. Oh, I've got to pick the kids up from school. Listen, dummy, you get to pick the kids up from school. I know people that would give both of their legs to be able to pick the kids up from school, and we just get complacent. I have one thing that not a lot of people have, and it took me 65 years to get here, and that is enough. I have enough. And I don't torture myself of what's over there. I heard a great quote the other day is, I looked in your cup to see if you had enough, and you looked in my cup to see if I had more than you. That's the
Mhm.
difference between me and a lot of people.
You just brought so many tools for our toolkit in just that one part of our conversation. So first is I'm gonna sort of work a little backwards. You ended by saying, I have enough. I look at my cup, I have enough. I look at another person's cup just to see they have enough. But other people look at my cup to see if I have more than them. It's this
Yes.
living of accepting and looking at yourself and realizing I have enough. We're getting to that point and then being able to realize I have enough. I am enough. I have enough, and not comparing yourself. So working, that's one piece of the toolkit. Then I love when you said, I get to. That mind
Yes.
shift. That's a huge, it's
Huge.
such a simple way of looking at things, but it's a
Yeah.
huge mind shift. I
You
get
can
to
ask anybody, wants to get wealthy, wants to get the kids back, and they get complacent after that. I mean, all I wanted was, when I came up to America, all I wanted is, like, I've never seen $25,000. So all I wanted was 25 grand in the bank. When we got it, it was like just 50, like 100. If I have 100 banking savings, I'd never have to worry. Half a million, a million, 5 million. Tell me, it was never enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to do some serious work on myself and realize that, I don't know how many times I've said this and I didn't believe it, Jack. No way. Is money doesn't make you happy. If you're an idiot when you're broke, you'll be an idiot when you're rich. It's
Mm-hmm.
great going to the bank and knowing quite well, or the ATM, you don't have to worry, but that's great. But listen, 4 years ago, after 30 years of estrangement from my daughter, she texts me in the middle of the night. Now, I'm a concierge doctor. I work for these high profile people. That means if the text goes in the middle of the night, I got about an hour to get to the nearest private airport, FBO, and fly wherever they are. That's part of the contract. So I picked the phone up, and it's my daughter, Charlie. And she says, "Hey, Dad." She called me Dad. "I've seen you on TV. I think it's time. I don't believe what everyone's telling me. I want to see you. I've got something to show you." So we chatted back and forth, and within 2 hours, we're on a plane. We stayed in a hotel around the corner from her house. The next morning, I was crying. I was shaking. My wife was holding me up, and I kept saying, I can't do this, Janet." She's like, "You're going to do it. It's okay." We got to a door, and I couldn't knock. I was shaking, and she opened the door, and we hugged, and we laughed, and we cried. And then she took me by my hand,
Mm.
and she walked me into her living room, and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. Money can't buy that. Money can't buy the fact that she's running my Manchester offices right now. Money can't be the fact that I talk to my granddaughter 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, that's golden. People say, Rob, I've seen your cars and how da, 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 da. I would swap every single piece of that if I couldn't see my daughter for one day. I'd give all that back. I don't care. You see, when you stood there with your granddaughter in your arms, with a daughter you've not seen for 30 years,
Mm.
life comes into perspective real quickly. The first thing I did when I got home is I gave her half my money away. I gave it away to poor people, to homeless people, to addicts, alcoholics, depression. I give it back to the veterans. I don't need it. I have enough to live, and that's it. And continued from that 4 to 5 years ago after that event, we still give 25% of our money back from the company. And Janet and I give $250,000 of our own money back into the communities because it was a game changer for me. And guys, this can happen to each and every one of you. It's there waiting for you. See, neuroscience and quantum physics tells us this, that everything you want in life is already around you. You just can't see it or you're not ready to receive it. So we walk in fear around all the time with these blinkers on. It's there, guys. Do the work, take the blinkers off, start living life.
What a powerful story. And it just forces us to focus on the things that matter. What truly matters in your life? Going back to then the philosophy or the framing for us for our way of thinking of I have enough and I get to dot dot dot. Right? What truly matters? I want to also touch on something else you said, and then I want to circle back to addiction because I think a lot of us, all of us probably know someone who goes through addiction or has experienced it in some way. But you talked about going back to the story as well, living in the now and to what truly matters. And you
Yeah.
said something about we tend to go to the past. Depression is the past, anxiety is the future. And if we can live in the now and really appreciating what truly matters, we start reducing that or eliminating it from our lives. Can you tell us a little bit more about that before we jump into more of the addiction story in the toolkit?
So the anxiety and the fear that we have is not real. You ever notice when you've been fearful, like I still get fearful a little bit about speaking, but when I walk on the stage, the fear's gone. So it's not real. It's something we perceive from past traumas that it's going to happen to us. Your dad was right. You'll never amount to anything. How many times, Rob, have I told you you can't go to college like your brother? You're too stupid. All them things cycle through my mind, and it's really important that you realize this and realize that you can change, guys. It's like I can't change the people around us, but I can change the people around me, you know? And my perspective on life is a billion times better than it used to be. And it's reality. It's now. It's 4 o'clock here on the dot, and I'm enjoying this conversation like it was no tomorrow. I go home at 1 o'clock, by the way. Monday to Friday, I'm done for one. I stay in the office because there's where my podcast studio is at 4 o'clock. Unheard of. Courtney gets on and says, "You need to speak to Jacqueline. She's changing the world." I'm like, I'm in. I'm in all the way because it's beautiful. It's now. It's in the now, and all that stuff that you worry about, it's not now. It's future tripping or the
Mm.
past. Get the past cleared up. We uncover, discover, and discard of the past and get rid of it. There's nothing you can do about the past, but there is something you can do about the now. And don't worry about the future because 96%, listen up, guys, 96% of things we worry about never come true. We do our more harm in here than people do to us out there.
Wow, we're doing more harm in our heads thinking about something that will most probably not happen.
Right?
Wow. And
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I like how you said, I forgot the three words, but one of them was discard, right? We recover, we process, we discard the past.
Uncover, discover, and discard. So uncover what it is by what we do, brain spotting and breath box, and we do, somatic experience. Uncover what it is, discover what it's all about, where the trauma was, where the violence, the rape, and all that stuff happened, and then discard of that stuff. Get rid of it. And there's a process, but when you do that and get rid of the past trauma, your life opens up
Yeah,
because I'm
completely.
not in prison anymore.
I think that the hard part for us is that part we just talked about
Mm,
and those three
yeah,
steps and getting to discarding. Because I myself have been through situations and traumas and they just stay in my head and they pop
of
up at 2 in
course.
the morning and
And
it's a lot of work to try to get it out and not have it consume you in the now. That's where my challenge has been in the past, and it takes me
yeah.
a long time to get to that place. And it sneaks up sometimes anyway.
It does always. You see, what happens in the we have tools for this and software that anything bad that happens, it's in the conscious brain. Anything in the now or the nice things are in the conscious brain. So when the or subconscious brain or release stuff is just when you're going for that interview, or just when you're going to date that guy, or just when you're going to buy that car, and all of a sudden from the subconscious release, remember when you said you're a waste of time? Remember when your mum said that you'll never amount to anything? Remember when you dropped a pen on the floor and called yourself a stupid idiot? Well, I'll tell you something now, Mr. Brain. You're right. You are a stupid idiot. And most of this is subconscious. So we sabotage a opportunity. A young girl growing up in the house. This is behavioral science. I have two PhDs, psychology and behavioral science. Young girl, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, growing up in the house with mom and dad. Dad's a chronic alcoholic. He comes home 2 or 3, maybe 4 times a week, and him and mom get into a physical fist fight with each other because he's wasted completely. The child sees this. They all go to bed and they get him next morning. And the first thing she sees is dad going, "Oh, I'm really sorry about last night." I'm like, "Hey, mom, no problem. I know I love you. Oh, I love you too, dear. I'm sorry." That child learns that violence equals love. So when she finally leaves that house, she's going to attract the same person that ends up being violent, maybe alcoholic, who knows, because that's what she's attracting to. So we basically attract what we think we are worth. Write that down, guys. We attract what we think we are worth. Now, to the extent that if she finds a good guy who really tries to look after her, she will self sabotage that relationship so it finishes because she knows in the end it's going to go bad from her past experience. So I'm going to finish this relationship before you do because I know that you'll. It's crazy.
That's
And it
so
goes
interesting.
round and round and round. And, when the prefrontal cortex again has for an answer, it goes straight to the subconscious brain, not the conscious brain, 9 times out of 10 until you've done the work.
Wow. It's like a master class here on how the brain works with all of this. And then if we're looking at this trauma and we just connected to how we attract what we think we're worth, now let's circle back to addiction
Mhm.
because how do we break that cycle then? How do we move beyond? What are some of the motivators? That's not a good word, but what are the things that bring out this addiction more and how do we work on it? And we're talking about all kinds of addictions. You even talked about the husband who landed in Spain with the family and was looking for the gym. So we know that we're
True story.
always
Yeah.
grabbing onto something. Yeah, and that's a true story. So tell us a little bit more about this so we can start analyzing our own habits and start looking at our own trauma and trying to understand how to move forward.
So you can't do this on your own, unfortunately, because it's way depth in subconscious brain. So the definition of insanity to us is me not being able to see my own truth. We
Mm-hmm.
always think we're less than. We always think stuff like that. So we do that uncover, discover. We go through with brain spotting, with breath box, and we uncover the traumas that you went through. And brain spotting is a great tool because it goes through the pupils to the subconscious brain. So when the eyes flicker with the pupil during the process, that's a trauma that's hidden away. And I've lost count of how many people I've got no trauma, no trauma. I'm depressed, and I just got no trauma. And you get into the brain spotting program, and all of a sudden, through a sequence, your eyes will flicker and you
Oh,
stay there. So let's say it's a thing like this, you stay there and they can't set their eyes off the orange bit there. And all of a sudden, whether it's 1 minute or 1 hour, I'm not moving. And eventually they go, "Oh my God, I was molested by my father." And it just comes out. And that's the stuff that's keeping you sick. It's not stealing $10 from church 40 years ago. It's the stuff that you're going to take to the grave and the stuff that you don't know that's happened. So because of that incident, you grew up not trusting people. You grew up with that shield across you that I'm going to do you before you do me because I know I'm not. That it's crazy. So we go through that as well, and then we show you what you could live. We build a life around you. So the addiction for us anyway, it's 90 days, it's done, it's cured, it's finished. But we also build you a life around that, because there's no point in get clean, sober, anxiety, depression out the way if you're going to go back. So again, it's all patterning. We have to change the patterns. Once you change the patterns, and we'll give you 3 things before we go, guys, that'll change your life from tomorrow. I guarantee it. And realizing what's really going on, because it's never the things we say, like, I'm depressed because I can't find a job. No, what's really going on there? And that's the key question. Now, 9 times out of 10, they don't know. So it's up to us, very gently or aggressive sometimes. I've been known to be aggressive with a lot of patients because I'm dealing with the addiction, not the person. And we'll drag it out of you. And yeah, it's a beautiful process, but everybody can do this and everybody recover 100%, guys. We do. We work with podcasters. We work with road sweeper. It makes no difference. If you want to improve the quality of your life, you have to go through what we call the work. You have to go to the process. This is not going to a counselor once a week, and this is imminent results from day one, from hour one. Is how we can shock you into believing that you don't have to live like this anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So brain spotting, the strategy, and it's interesting how we have these traumas that are hidden. And for some of us, I think we have traumas that we don't realize are traumas. We're like, I remember, yeah, I grew up in that household, and it's we don't really acknowledge the full extent of the impact that had. And so you
Oh
see
my
that a lot.
God, Jacqueline. I've never had a podcaster say that to me. There's no such thing as big T's and small T's with childhood trauma or addiction. They're all huge. So the little tiny things that you don't think matter, like somebody, for me, I had to buy brand new shirts every time, brand new shirt. I have loads of shirts, but then if a button comes off, I throw it away. And I was working with my girl about 4 years ago, and a button came off, was pulling it. And I said, I threw that away. Why? And we got into it. And there was a party at my mom's house. Now, we were poor. So I had this shirt handed down that had 2 buttons missing. And I was conscious of that. And a couple of people kind of made, not fun. Hey, I see you got no buttons. It looks cool. But I was devastated with that. That was a huge trauma for me. Like, I'm not good enough. I can't dress like everyone else. It was horrible. So yeah, them little tiny things. It's not the divorce or the car crash, guys, or the plane crash. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got the little comments of friends and teachers and caregivers. Look at you, you scruffy. Are you stupid? Oh, there's so much damage, Jacqueline done. Great job there. That was awesome. I love
Uh,
that.
well, thank you, but it shows that we all have the work. We all have to do the work. We all have work to
Yes.
do. So I thought that was interesting. You mentioned brain spotting, and thank you for acknowledging that trauma isn't what we more normally think of when we think trauma. But you also mentioned breath box as another strategy. Tell us more about that. And I know you're wearing a
Yeah.
breath box T-shirt right now.
So we discovered that there is a software that we enhanced subliminal messaging, frequencies, vibration, and music and voice at the same time. And it comes around from 9 dimensional subliminal messages being hit into the subconscious mind. It might be, you're amazing, you can do this, whatever it is, you don't hear it, but you follow with breath work as well. So you're doing breath work with it as well. And it restructures the patterns of the brain. So there's 92 programs. So after you finish the 92 programs, we insist on at least 3 times a day. It's telehealth, it's online. You can do it like Zoom, no problems at all. And it completely changes the way we think and changes the way the brain works. And it also teaches about mindset. And because when the prefrontal cortex says, give me an answer, you no longer go into the subconscious brain, because the subconscious brain now is full of good stuff. 300 neural pathways, like I said, we're replacing with what's on Breathbox. It's an absolutely, so no matter who's coming, okay, we've had it 2 years. This is what they do. We had a 92-year-old woman in, okay, finished, took the headphones off. What the beep was that? And we go, right? Oh my God, this is unbelievable. So we're talking to JFK now about it, because we think it's going to change the world. I mean, when you're treating Alzheimer's with 3 or 4 patients that's paid millions of dollars to go to these big, doctors, pay a fortune, and they come here and we see results. It's like, we're not about the money. It costs a lot of money to come here because I have lots of things and lots of people and lots of places and all that stuff they have to provide for you. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to charge anybody without a result. Like I don't go to I could call any treatments up right now, Jacqueline. Let's call 10 treatments up. You know what they're going to ask us? Do you have insurance? We don't do
Mm.
that. You call us, what's going on? How can we help? All right, well, you have to pass an assessment before we take you on. We're not just going to take you on. Yeah, but we have insurance. We don't take insurance. Well, you got a big bag. We don't, I've turned millions of dollars down. If I can't stand in front of my mum and dad died early because of my illness and my disease, and I was homeless and I died. They got cancer and they died a lot early. You think I'm going to stand in front of a parent or a loved one and guarantee you that they can recover if I don't think they can? No, no, we're not going to do that. God would strike me down dead. I know that for a fact. The only thing is, with what we're teaching, is people automatically go, "No, that's impossible. You can't do that." Well, I beg to differ, you know, because it's all
You
new
have to be
science and we're
committed.
using it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's there.
And commitment is part of it to do the work, and then believing in the work and being committed to doing the work, depending on the work you're trying to do. And if you're looking at recovery from trauma that you're not too clear about yet, or we started with the conversation of addiction, and I know a lot of trauma is tied to addiction, but looking at addiction and how to
Mm.
overcome addiction and live in the now, live a happy life takes work, and it takes commitment, and it takes accepting that this is where we are, and then making that commitment. So I think that's very interesting. You just mentioned Alzheimer's too, and you do work in this area. I'm curious if you could share a little bit about that work and this connection with what we're talking about in Alzheimer's.
So, in layman terms, what Alzheimer's is pathways and parts of the brain not functioning anymore. So let's say thought patterns, pathways, stuff like that, has gone dead, and slowly but surely they start to deteriorate. We don't believe that. We believe that they go into a dormant gray area. And we think that by changing the pathways the way we do with the breath box, we can replenish neural pathways. When you have a 13% increased memory on a 72-year-old woman, that's a big deal. 50-year-old, that's a big deal. And we don't test them. We send them to a place called Root Causes, and they do all the tests. They're a medical facility, do all the testing and stuff. And it's very important that we're on the right track here. Um, if you believe something can happen, then 9 out of 10 times it will happen. If you think that you can cure most things in the body, it's true because the body cures itself from outside in. From inside out. It does not do it from outside in. We have the capability, capacity, the spiritual side, whatever you want to call it, universe. We have the chance to heal ourselves, but because of normal society now, we don't do that. We go
Mhm.
straight. Like if I had speaking to a woman yesterday, Mrs. Smith, what's going on? Dr. Robb, I'm so depressed. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. How long's it been going on? About 5 years. 5 years. Oh my goodness. Wow. Do you take anything for it? I take Wellbutrin. How long have you been taking the Wellbutrin? About 3 years now.
Mhm.
When did you think it's going to kick in?
Mhm.
It hasn't kicked in yet, and you're still taking the medication. So I pull the medical dictionary of America and I open it and we look under depression and it says lack of serotonin. Why aren't we asking the question before we go to the doctor why my serotonin is low in the first place? Because what we do, and I'm not saying anybody should or should not, I am not a medical doctor, I'm a double PhD, but I am an expert in this area, is there's ways of curing and changing from inside out. Once you get onto a drug, and that's fine, but the false serotonin is as high as you can go. So it sets a false serotonin medication. Now you've got to take that medication because my serotonin's here for the rest of our lives. And if I don't, then I'm going to zoot down because my serotonin can't go any higher than that and eventually depletes, and this becomes the primary tool for me being happy. And that's not. It's down to methylation, it's down to exercise, sunlight, all that stuff that we're not getting because one day goes into another and another. It's like stop. Your mental health is the most important thing in the world. I would swap a millionth of my mental health for all the money I have now. So you have to start treating yourself. If you're over 40, 50 years old, you need to be lifting every day, watching what you eat. You need to be exercising sunlight. You need to be grounded. You need to hang around people that you want to be. If you hang around 9 depressed people, you will become the 10th. We've done tests and trials in my reception about that, how 9 people can infect and change one person in 3 minutes with their behavior. So show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Hang around the people that you want to be. And there's Facebook things, and you could get in, hang around them guys and you will become. Otherwise, you'll get left behind. You'll go back to old behavior and old habits, which will bring back the addictions and the depression and the anxiety.
Wow, very powerful for our listeners. We started talking about so many different things, starting with the fact that with pharmaceutical companies, we're sort of alleviating temporarily a symptom, but then we become reliant on the medication rather than looking at the true underlying issue that's creating that
Yes.
symptom. And in this case, it's depression that we're looking at. So, really taking that more holistic approach to that, I think, is extremely important. And I live through that philosophy myself as well. And sometimes we need some medication for something temporarily or as a
Yes.
or something, or a crutch or something else, but we got to figure out what's really causing the issue. Why is this really happening if we truly want to get to the source of it versus just relying on this one.
Band-aid, just a band-aid. I will never, and this is me personally from what I know, never go to my general doctor for my general health ever again. Never. They know nothing about general health, nothing. 98% of the food in the supermarket is killing us. Now, if I have a heart problem or I need to take meds, I'll go to the doctor all day long. But for my general health, no, I'm not going to do that.
Mm. Food, food is we have to is hurting us if we're not eating the right things, and obviously we have a lot of processed foods and GMO and all that stuff. I love also when you were looking at mental health, the people around us, your tribe. So another thing for your toolkit is who are you spending your time with? I for a part of my 40s, I spent it with the wrong groups for too long, and that definitely changed how I saw myself and my mental health and how I was living. And so finding the right tribe, the right group, the right communities, making sure you stay with those connections are important as well. So definitely, and all this circles back to our primary conversation at the beginning, our first conversation, because this is all work for our overall well-being, and we're looking at addiction as as not the issue not being the food or the alcohol or the
Correct.
drug, but there's something underlying that we have to look at when we're looking at addiction, whether we're the ones struggling with it or we have friends or family members struggling with addiction. And I think most people have experience with addiction either themselves or through someone they know.
I've never met anybody on streets. I wear crazy glasses and crazy clothes. I've got pink pants on right now. The conversation starters, because I'm very big on if you speak to someone, then compliment 3 people, you're going to save a life every day. And everybody knows somebody. And if you don't, guys, it's probably you.
Yeah. By the way, for our listeners, pink pants, which I can't see on the camera right now, and yellow glasses, bright sun yellow glasses. So definitely conversation starters. We're coming to the end of the interview, and you've given us a lot of different tools and things to think about as we're looking at our overall health and living in the now and just living better physical, mental lives. I wanted to see if you wanted to share anything else that I didn't ask you about or give us any final thoughts or advice.
I'll give you 3 things to do tomorrow morning, guys. But before we do, just practice smiling every day. It's really hard, but practice it. Say hello, say, good morning, just nod at someone. I mean, you don't know what other people are going through because everyone's going through something. The childhood trauma is the gateway drug, man. If you're still suffering from that, there's a great story I tell about walking to the Golden Gate Bridge and the guy throws himself off. And, you know, on his suicide note, he said, if somebody talks or smiles to me on the way, that I'll stop. And it's like, how many people have walked past today heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? We never know. So I'm always complimenting people, always complimenting people. and smiling and stuff like that, because I think we've lost that part with iPhones and iPads, and we've got our head down. Let's start talking to each other again. Men, let's stand up and start being men again. Well, I have this problem. Good. So did I. Yeah, but I can't stop crying. Good. Neither could I. This is normal with what you're going through. I've got addiction. I can't control my emotions. That's the anterior cingulate cortex, buddy. That's not you being weak. That's part of the brain telling you that, hey, there's something wrong and I can't control the stress and I feel torn. That's natural for what you're going through, mister. Stand up and start being men again. I love powerful women. I love you, Jacqueline. I love my wife, who's powerful woman, but the guys and girls out there that are not quite powerful yet, stand up, man. Stand up. Don't be afraid anymore. I'm going to give you 3 things to change your life tomorrow, guys, when you wake up. One of the reasons that no human being ever has woke up laughing from sleep is lack of oxygen. So, in a normal circadian sleep pattern, between the hours of 2 and 5 o'clock in the morning is when the body is at its weakest. The oxygen is really low while the body goes into full repair from the day before. So, it's when most people die of natural causes as well, between 2 and 5. So, when we wake up in the morning, we don't have a lot of oxygen. Well, the subconscious brain thrives in hypoxic situations, so that guy wakes us up, whether we like it or not. The idea is to swap the subconscious from the conscious, and this is how we're going to do it. Sit on the side of the bed because you will go dizzy. I want you to take 20 exaggerated breaths in and out pretty fast. Make that funny face at the top. So we're talking this, what I'm going to do. Do 20 of those, guys. You'll go dizzy. That means it's working. We're flooding the brain and every cell with oxygen. We only breathe 45% of our lung capacity. When you go to the gym and feel amazing, no, it's not the weights of dumbbells or the bike. It's this in between sets. It's that makes us feel amazing. So once we do that, I want you to go into the bathroom. Let's start changing things. Nobody sees you the way you see you, through a mirror. So I want you to stand in front of the mirror, but 6 feet away. 6 feet away and say, I love you 10 times. That's it. We're going to store the subconscious brain. Now, why 6 feet away from the mirror? Well, it's an optical illusion that the eyes have. Is if we get close to the mirror, we see all our blemishes. So girls, don't do in makeup, and guys, don't do it while you're shaving, because that's not the way people. When's the last time you were in the office? Hey, Jimmy, good to. We don't do that. So we think people see us like this, but they don't. 6 feet away, blemishes disappear. That's how people see you. That's the way to get excited about how you look. It's amazing. So do that. And let's change some patterns up that we don't know we're in. If you're a right hand toothbrush guy, do a week on the left, week on the right, week on the left, and a week on the right. It will change you guys. Go out and compliment 3 people every day and slow everything down. Do some grounding, get lots of sunlight, be happy, smiley, be that annoying guy like me in the elevator. Everyone a 10 out of 10 today, guys? And everyone's looking in different directions and embarrassed on the elevator. By the time we get to the 3rd floor, everyone's going, I'm a 10. Yes, come on. You've changed the world. And if you don't believe me, guys, I'll finish on this. If you don't believe me, next time you're walking in a built-up area of people, look for somebody walking towards you with sneakers. That's so easy. And just say 2 words to him. Nice sneakers. Oh, thanks, man. Hey, thank you. Turn around and watch him walk away. He's going to look down his sneakers at least 2 or 3 times. You've just changed his life. But guess what? He goes home to the wife or girlfriend because he's in a good mood. Now she's in a good mood. The mother-in-law calls and you get the gist. You've just changed the word with 2 freaking words. Nice sneakers. And that's the way we should be living.
Amazing. So we have homework, and it's homework we can all do. As soon as we finish this podcast, we go to bed, we wake up, and we can start our homework. And that's more for our toolkit. Thank you. Now, if people want to reach you or learn more about BreathBox or any of the work you do, how can we find you?
Well, I'm on all social medias. The website, if you're listening and can't watch, spell my name with 2 B's, ROBBKELLY.com, robkelly.com. Go on there. There's lots of stuff. There's breath box. There's all the socials. There's everything on there. Say hi. We work all over the world. So, if you're in a different state, you don't have to come to us. We're not an inpatient. We're outpatient only, but we will change your life. Call us. Whatever you've got, we'll definitely talk to you about. You pass the assessment. We'll take you in, first of all. So call us. If you're that guy that we were talking about, or that girl who's in a desperate place, who has tried everything, or the husband's left because he's a no good piece of crap, and you're left there in a 1-bedroom apartment with nowhere else to go, no money, 2 children, call me 214-600-0210. I'm not going to send you money because that would be easy for us to do, but we're going to encourage you, and I want you to text me. I'll text you back, and we'll arrange a 20-minute talk that'll change your life. Otherwise, I will send you $100 if I don't. The second one is, there's a book out there called Daddy, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. That's my daughter I told you about, guys. Don't buy it off Amazon. Please don't. We've sold about, I don't know, 150,000. No, we've never sold a copy. We always give it away. So don't buy it off Amazon. Got 10 free copies. Let us know, either Jacqueline or myself. I'll sign it to you specially. I'll pay for the shipping and everything on one condition: that you give it to somebody else free of charge when you're done with it.
Love that. And for our listeners, all these resources, all this information, you'll find these in the description of the episode. We'll add all the links there for you. So just scroll down and you'll be able to get those links. Thank you so much, Dr. Robb, for joining us, for enlightening us with all this information and really giving us tools to look at our lives, our past traumas, to work on ourselves, to live in the now, to really change mindsets and how we're living. I mean, so many different strategies shared today that I know our listeners will take away at least one thing, and we all have homework for tomorrow morning. So you've heard the episode, try it out. The homework is pretty simple. It is very doable. We can all do this. Thank you so much for being here on Coffee and an Interview.